join us on Patreon, and become part of our journey to uncover history's untold stories. Your support helps us create in-depth content, bring hidden narratives to life, and keep history alive for everyone.
The sparkling lights, the sweet scent of pine, the warm glow of a crackling fire, and the laughter of loved ones gathered together. These are the quintessential images that come to mind when we think of Christmas. The season is synonymous with joy, generosity, and a sense of community, wrapped in a blanket of tradition that spans centuries. However, beneath the radiant facade of Christmas cheer, there lies a darker and more complex history, one that intertwines with the exploitation of human lives and the brutal system of slavery. While Christmas today is celebrated as a joyous occasion, a time of giving, family reunions, and festive meals, its modern incarnation has been shaped by a multitude of historical influences. One of the most significant and often overlooked is the role that slavery played in the creation and evolution of many Christmas traditions. From the sugar plantations of the Caribbean to the luxury goods exchange among the wealthy, the history of Christmas cannot be fully understood without acknowledging the painful legacy of exploitation and forced labor that helped form the very foundations of the holiday season as we know it today. The connection between slavery and Christmas traditions might not be immediately apparent. After all, we tend to focus on the more idyllic aspects of the holiday, the story of the Nativity, the joy of giving, and the winter wonderland setting. Yet, as we begin to peel back the layers of history, we find that the roots of many Christmas customs are tangled in a web of exploitation that involves the forced labor of millions of enslaved people. From the sugar that sweetens our holiday treats to the luxurious goods exchanged as gifts, slavery was an integral part of the development of Christmas celebrations. Understanding this connection forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about the ways in which festive traditions were often built on the backs of the oppressed. The history of slavery in relation to Christmas is a story of economic forces, cultural exchange, and human suffering. It's a tale that stretches from the sugar plantations of the Caribbean to the bustling cities of Europe and the United States, where the fruits of exploitation found their way into the homes of the wealthy. But it is also a story of resilience, survival, and the indelible mark that enslaved people left on the cultural fabric of the holiday season. To fully appreciate the richness of modern Christmas, we must first understand the deep and painful history that lies at its core. The sugar that flavored many of our Christmas treats, the luxury goods that adorned our tables, and even the very notion of gift-giving have all been shaped, in part, by the horrors of the transatlantic slave trade. The enslaved people who labored under brutal conditions in the fields of the Caribbean and the Americas provided the raw materials that fueled Europe's economic growth and enabled the rise of a consumer culture that would come to define modern Christmas. But it's not just the material goods that are influenced by slavery. It's also the very structure of the holiday itself. Christmas, as we know it today, is a product of centuries of trade, cultural exchange, and tragically human suffering. In this article, we will delve into the many ways in which slavery influenced the development of modern Christmas traditions. We will explore the economic systems that relied on the labor of enslaved people to produce the goods that became central to holiday celebrations, and we will examine how those goods were woven into the fabric of Christmas traditions. From the sugar plantations of the Caribbean to the Christmas markets of Europe, we will uncover the uncomfortable truths about the origins of some of our most beloved holiday customs. Along the way, we will shine a light on the legacy of slavery and its enduring impact on the holiday season, forcing us to confront the complex and often painful intersections of joy, celebration, and exploitation. As we reflect on these connections, we will also consider the voices of those who were silenced by the system of slavery. We will look at how enslaved people, despite their suffering, contributed to the cultural landscape of Christmas, infusing it with their own traditions, resilience, and spirit. Their stories are an essential part of understanding the full scope of the holiday, reminding us that Christmas, for all its modern charm, is built on a foundation that was shaped by the labor and sacrifices of millions of enslaved people. Slavery is not just a dark chapter of the past. It is a shadow that continues to haunt the way we celebrate, perceive, and understand Christmas today. This investigation seeks to unravel the complex history of Christmas and its connections to slavery, offering a deeper and more nuanced understanding of the holiday season that acknowledges both the joy and the sorrow, the celebration and the suffering that are inextricably linked within its history. By doing so, we not only enrich our understanding of Christmas, but also honor the legacy of those whose lives were forever marked by the system of slavery. At the heart of the story of slavery's influence on Christmas lies the sugar trade. During the 17th and 18th centuries, sugar became one of the most profitable commodities in the world, and its production relied heavily on the labor of enslaved Africans. The Caribbean islands, with their fertile soils and tropical climate, were the ideal location for sugar plantations. Here, enslaved men, women, and children toiled in brutal conditions, harvesting sugarcane and processing it into sugar, molasses, and rum. These products would soon become staples in European markets, with sugar, in particular, becoming a key ingredient in the holiday season. Sugar, once a rare and expensive luxury, became widely available and affordable due to the forced labor of enslaved people. The sweet treat became central to many Christmas traditions, from the sugary confections that adorned Christmas tables to the desserts enjoyed after holiday feasts. For centuries, sugar was a symbol of wealth and status, and it was often used in the most elaborate Christmas celebrations. Christmas cakes, cookies, and other sweets were made with copious amounts of sugar, a commodity that was only made possible by the labor of enslaved Africans. Beyond sugar, other luxury goods also played a central role in the development of Christmas traditions, many of which were also tied to the exploitation of enslaved labor. Coffee, chocolate, and rum, all products whose production was intimately connected to slavery, became essential parts of the holiday season. Wealthy Europeans and Americans began to indulge in these luxurious goods during Christmas, using them as symbols of their prosperity and refinement. The exchange of these items during the holiday season became a central part of Christmas gift-giving, a practice that continues to this day. But it wasn't just the wealthy who were involved in the consumption of these goods. As Christmas became more commercialized in the 19th century, mass production of holiday treats and goods made them available to a wider audience. Sugar and other products, once associated with the elite, became common ingredients in the Christmas traditions of people from all walks of life. This democratization of Christmas traditions was made possible by the vast system of global trade that was fueled by the exploitation of enslaved labor. As the 19th century progressed, Christmas underwent a transformation from a religious observance to a more secular, commercialized holiday. This shift was not only driven by cultural changes, but also by the burgeoning consumer economy that relied on the mass production of goods, many of which were connected to the legacy of slavery. The rise of department stores, catalogs, and advertisements helped to popularize the idea of gift-giving during the Christmas season, turning the holiday into a time for the exchange of luxury items and material goods. During this period, the tradition of gift-giving took on new significance. The exchange of gifts became a way to demonstrate social status and wealth, and luxury items such as fine clothing, jewelry, and exotic goods became central to the holiday celebrations of the elite. Many of these items were products of the global trade network that had been built on the backs of enslaved labor. The cheap availability of luxury goods was a direct result of the exploitation of enslaved people, and the commercialization of Christmas would not have been possible without the forced labor that fueled the global economy. While the wealth generated by slavery played a central role in the development of modern Christmas traditions, it is also important to recognize the contributions of enslaved people themselves to the holiday season. Despite their brutal conditions, enslaved people brought with them a rich cultural heritage that influenced the music, food, and customs of the holiday season. In the American South, for example, enslaved African Americans contributed to the development of holiday music, with spirituals, hymns, and festive songs becoming central to Christmas celebrations. In the Caribbean, enslaved Africans brought their own traditions of feasting, dancing, and celebrating the harvest, which blended with European Christmas customs to create a distinct Caribbean version of the holiday. These traditions, rooted in African culture, would have a lasting impact on the way Christmas was celebrated in the Americas and beyond. One of the most enduring symbols of Christmas is the Christmas tree, which has become synonymous with holiday cheer. However, the origins of the Christmas tree, are not as innocent as they may seem. The modern Christmas tree, as we know it, was shaped by the influence of European nobility and the wealth generated by the slave trade. The trees were often decorated with luxurious ornaments and candles, which were made possible by the exploitation of enslaved labor in the production of goods like glass and metal. The Christmas tree is just one example of how the legacy of slavery is woven into the fabric of modern Christmas traditions. From the food we eat to the gifts we exchange, slavery has had a profound influence on the holiday season, shaping both the material culture and the social practices that define Christmas today. As we reflect on the many ways in which slavery has influenced Christmas traditions, we must acknowledge the painful and uncomfortable truths that lie beneath the surface of our holiday celebrations. The sweet treats, the luxury goods, and the very idea of gift-giving are all connected to a history of exploitation and human suffering. By understanding this history, we can deepen our appreciation of Christmas, recognizing that the holiday is not just a time of joy and celebration, but also a time to remember the lives that were forever changed by the brutal system of slavery. The legacy of slavery is not something we can easily escape, nor is it something we should try to forget. It is a part of our shared history, and it has left an indelible mark on the way we celebrate Christmas today. By confronting this legacy, we honor the resilience and contributions of those who suffered under the system of slavery, and we gain a deeper understanding of the complex and often painful history that has shaped our modern holiday traditions. In the end, Christmas is not just about the gifts we give or the joy we share with our loved ones. It is also about acknowledging the shadows that lurk behind our celebrations and working to create a world where the legacy of slavery no longer shapes our traditions or our lives. The story of slavery and Christmas is one that must be told, not just to understand the past, but to build a future where the suffering of the oppressed is no longer forgotten or ignored.